Welcome to the Serve Campus podcast, a resource for campus ministry workers across Canada. We provide education, resourcing, and coaching for people leading ministries on post-secondary campuses. Our goal is to encourage and resource you in your vital work on universities, colleges, institutes, wherever you are. And now, here is your host, John Engels.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. This past year has been something that's happened once in 100 years, and we all got to experience it together. So how has the pandemic affected your work on campus? How's that changed things? And then what do you look forward to, I guess, as we move toward more of an in-person almost normal, or hopefully near normal?
Yeah. Who knows what that'll ever look like again? And there's always change, and in many ways, universities are at the forefront of that. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things as far as content delivery and microcredits. Stacking a lot of little certificates for people that will change post-secondary education. But when I'm thinking about ministry and some of the changes and some of the opportunities of this last year, I would say the relationships we had built already were really important and vital. So one of the things I also did after the kind of helping create our multi-base center, I worked pretty closely with our head physician and head counselor, and we created a wellness center. And even though none of the chaplains were paid by the university, they were still recognized as kind of helping to deal with the whole mind, body, spirit, approach to wellness and wholeness. And so, as we know, there's probably going to be a crisis in our mental health over the next 6 months, a few years. People have hunkered down in some ways and think, okay, we're all in this together. But as we come out of it, I think there will be a lot of challenges where people realize, hey, my life has not gotten better. Before, I could just say, yeah, it sucks. Everybody's in this. But now I think some people realize maybe they haven't kept moving. They've lost momentum in this last year. So having some of these relationships and connections on campus has been really important for us, and people referring, whether it's faculty or staff or people in different areas on campus, recognizing the students at risk. So we can kind of do more, even though we're not counselors as chaplains, we can play a role in helping support and serve our students as far as mental health, spiritual health, obviously. And we've been called on over the years for some, major crises that have hit our campuses here in Calgary, whether it's deaths or those are probably the most obvious, and to be able to be called to the table right away to help with some of those things. Tomorrow I am dealing with another funeral of a well-loved staff member here who died suddenly. So there are opportunities just because I've loved on this campus, because I've loved on its people, because I love the aims of the university to invest in young people. And so those sort of things are going to be increasingly important, I think, the relational connections that you have, and that it's not just, kind of coming in and wanting to save the campus in whatever way you're kind of seeing that. But obviously, spiritually, we feel like we have something to offer, but socially, we have something to offer. So I think, there's going to be the need to kind of work together to address not only our own health and wellness, but that of our students. So even being academically, I think I mentioned right at the beginning there, I think probably the way content is going to be delivered is going to change over the coming years. We can help with even speaking in classes. A number of my chaplains have spoken online in different classes in the last several months. So helping people to see it's not just what happens in the classroom, but what happens outside of the classroom. That's one of the reasons I think why one aspect of my ministry, which I love, is kind of the service learning, the things that happen outside of the classroom. So inviting students into social justice projects been such a game changer or life changer for many students. Realize that yes, we want to support you in your intellectual growth and development, but also your growth and development as a human being. What does it mean to have your heart broken for the needs of the world and for the needs that are here in our city, but the needs that are around the world? And so I think that integrated, holistic discipleship, if you would call it that, is going to be pretty critical going forward.
Yeah, and that just fits in with what you've been doing with your trips that you take students on, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. Every year you go on and do a project, and so unpack that for us. What does that look like?
And we try and take, obviously Christians understand where this ethic comes from. A lot of times, though the wider student population wants to do something good, it's not just doing well in their studies. They want to do something good, feel like they're making a difference, be the change, and all those things. But as we get them actually sweating and working together, they realize, a part of our debriefs can be a spiritual debrief in a way, daily things of saying, well, why do you have this desire to do something good? Where does that come from? Maybe were you designed to contribute to others in a way that is meaningful for something outside of yourself? So serving others might provide a lot of direction for you. So that's been fun, actually seeing students who could do a 4.0 GPA, do perfect grades, but maybe were a little hard or calloused, and then realizing that as their hearts were cracked open, realizing that there was a lot of brokenness around them, and maybe even brokenness in their own lives, and that as they engaged with other people who were just being real, that's why I like to take at least half of our teams being Christian, because I just trust that it's not necessarily the program that I'm going to put together, but trust the Spirit of God to lead their conversations. They talk about love or war or poetry or nerding out on their science stuff as we travel and learn and serve together. Those sort of things have been incredibly transformative for young people. And so, they've both gotten to know, say somebody from business has gotten to know somebody from engineering. They thought, wow, I would have never had that opportunity if I would have stuck in my faculty. But they've also gotten to know people from different religious traditions. So there was one trip that I had that there were 4 young women. One was from India, one was from Pakistan, one was from Lebanon, and one was pastor's daughter from here in Calgary. And so realizing that they all had very similar parents in some ways, and yet very different faith upbringing, and the wrestling and the pushing that they were doing against, the normal things that it is for young people as they grow up and try and make life their own and make their faith their own. So that was a beautiful experience to see their aha moments as they shared life together.
Yeah, that's great. And over the years, you have been engaged in a lot of humanitarian projects and home building. How many trips do you think you've been on over the years with students?
Yeah, I think we've built 21 homes now. I think at least 21, and probably worked on a couple extras, maybe not building the full house. But so that's a lot of families that have been impacted that probably would have never had a home unless students said, oh, let's pool our money and do some fundraising together. Let's drive down or fly down to wherever we're going to go. So that's been really cool. But I would say, for those families, and there are some people that we've kept in touch with, and it's been beautiful to see the ways that some of those people have now taken responsibility for others in their communities. But our students would be shook because they would be so happy and thankful, and yet, some of these students would almost live in a bigger home than these families were living in. And so it's a sobering kind of reality check for our students, but it was an opportunity for them to realize that God could use their simple little skills, if they're willing, that God could use them to touch another life, but that their lives would probably be changed even more in the process.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Can you share with us maybe a highlight story of one of the trips that you've been on in the past, just few years? Is there a particular?
No, I have too many stories. Actually, there's one of the pastors in Calgary. recently just told me of one of her favorite board members is a student who came to the Lord through, actually, I think it was on her third trip with us. She just loved contributing and she loved getting involved. But it wasn't until, one of the students on our team took her to a passion play here. We're coming up to Easter right away, and there was an Easter production at their church. And this girl had heard the message many times through many of us on the team. But it took a few years, at least 2 or 3 years. And this other pastor now, she was just telling me that, wow, she is one of my favorite board members. She's just so, like, the enthusiasm that this young woman had when she actually made the decision for Christ that night was, she called me at 1 a.m. Kelly, I've become born again. Like, she was just like vibrating over the phone, and my wife said, what in the world's going on? But it was incredibly exciting. But to see the way that she's grown and matured and gone on to do graduate work, to do work at the environment, it's been incredible. Then she's also so invested in her local church. It just makes me smile because she's got 3 of her own kids now, but very active and engaged. And her parents, not really churchgoers, but so thankful to Barb and myself for kind of taking this young woman under our wing. There was a moment where she actually thought, okay, I'm going to go give my life to service. And she wasn't even really a Christian yet, but she found another group that was kind of had all the trademarks of the cult. And so we kind of helped to divert her from that and say, hey, just take a look at some of this information. And so it was a great group, but it had a lot of kind of, as happens, people do target it, and they don't really want the best for some of these students. They use them. And so this young woman's parents are incredibly grateful that we kind of helped divert her from that. And I'm sure they're just going, what in the world? Her whole life has changed. She's so invested in Jesus now, but they're actually so thankful. They support us monthly, even though they're not churchgoers themselves. They're just beautiful, wonderful people who are so thankful for what they see in the daughter's life.
That is so fantastic. Thanks for sharing that story. And I think it just really speaks of the importance of investing in a life and discipleship. We just don't know where that investment will go. And you can just give us glimpses, in this story of where that discipleship has gone. It has guarded this person from being involved in a cult to where she's at now and thriving in her faith. And so what a great example. Appreciate that. Well, I know there's many things that you're involved with in your life, Kelly. It's hard to hold you down and maybe even hard to take a day off a week sometimes, but we won't get into that. But I do want you to share about international students, because I know that's a big passion as well. So can you unpack what you're doing with international students?
Yeah, it's been very difficult this year, but we still, ones that we've had, I think it's been difficult not just for international students, but for local students to make new connections this year. But I don't know how it is across other institutions in the country, but U of C has a target of having at least 10% of our undergraduate students be internationals and 25% of our graduate students be internationals. Now we've surpassed that with our international students, more like 28 or 29%. So we have thousands of graduate students here. U of C is a major research university, just growing and thriving in that. Even though many students couldn't come from other countries this year, our actual enrollment numbers have been up and international student numbers have been up. So there are thousands and thousands of students that we're expecting even this summer and fall as we get back to normal things. And many of them come, especially the graduate students, I find, are realizing, okay, I need to take care of certain things. I need to get a community. I need to, and I'm curious about how other people put this together. Some of them think that, maybe North America is a little more Christian, and so they want to take advantage of that opportunity to explore. But international students are hungry for learning, but they're hungry for connection. And so it's a huge tens of thousands. We must have a couple 100,000 international students across the country, but tens of thousands in our cities that are looking for connection. And so one of the things that I've done over the years is some of it started through our International Student Center here, where they would link you up with students and kind of be a mentor. But then they had to drop that because of funding. And so I helped to create something we call the Friendship Program, or Home Away from Home. And I think it's thefriendshipprogram.com. And what we do is we just help link international students to either individuals or families here in Calgary. The great majority of those are Christian families. And so as students ask about, life in Canada, faith is a big part of that for many of our families. So it's been great to see these students invite these families to their weddings, to their graduations, to significant life events, and even seeing some of them become Christian, staying here, some of them, but some of them have become Christian and gone back to their home country where it's not so easy to be Christian in a public way. And so, but yet they're full of life and enthusiasm for a different way of operating, experiencing an event in life. So I think that's been, I mentioned at the very beginning that Barb and I thought we'd go overseas. We have a great desire and interest. My own master's, I did a minor in intercultural studies. I think that's one reason why we stayed here, because the world has come to us, and we've seen that there's a field that is ripe for harvest, because these young people are keen to figure out maybe a different way than they've known in their home countries. And so there's a curiosity there that we need to be willing to just say, this is what we've experienced, and to be real with our lives, and to see the struggles that we have. I think that we don't necessarily have it all together, but that we have a God who's came in the flesh and promised to never leave us or forsake us. That's a powerful thing that's not based on what we can do for God, but what God has done for us, and that there's this acceptance and generosity of the heart of God that blows them away. So I'm very excited about being able to have more friendships with more international students in the coming years.
That's great. And how many of international students have been in the friendship program, the Home Away from Home, over the years?
Yeah, for sure over 600. I think we probably had, and we can't do this all. We can't have all those students in our homes, number of us. So it's been great to actually get the church mobilized and other people of goodwill on campus, but it's been primarily Christians, which has been a beautiful thing to see. So we would probably have close to 300 families or units. Some of them are individuals, but people, connecting. And some of those students have now been connected to 3, 4, 5 years and still would call their families kind of their Canadian families. So over 600 graduate students, but really we need thousands more. There's opportunity and great need. Wow.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for giving us glimpses into your world, Kelly. It's been awesome to download some reality of your world. And there's much more that we could talk about. But what I really picked up on from you in the beginning was the importance of generosity, curiosity, collaboration, international students, obviously, discipleship, hospitality. That all just resonates through what you've talked about. And those are just keys, I think, to the kingdom of God and to the gospel as we serve these students that come through year after year.
Yeah.
And
great opportunity, great privilege.
Yeah.
And now we need more workers. So come along and help out, and maybe God will bring you on full time on campus.
Yeah, so if anybody out there is interested in talking chaplaincy, what it takes to be a chaplain, if you're interested in that, or just in campus ministry in general, or even the Home Away from Home program, we'll drop those links into the show notes and Kelly's contact information. But Kelly, I want to just thank you so much. appreciate your heart and vision, your friendship. It's been great. It's been a rich time of just sharing together. And I want to thank everybody for listening today. Thank you, servant leaders. And we're going to be back next time with David Burke as he shares with us about red frogs. And so I hope today has been helpful to you and stirred your imagination about how to practically serve on your campuses. And so till next time, we'll say God bless you and have a great day.
Thanks so much.